Okay, so today it's going to be a little different. I hope everybody's well, and I'm so sorry about everything just kind of being a little late. There's just a lot going on in my life right now, and my faith is definitely being challenged. And I just appreciate your patience, those of you who are subscribed to this channel and reading along with me. And today I'm just going to do things a little different. I'm going to make just one single video with both the King James Version and the Message. Took everything I got to kind of come on here today. But I'm here, and I don't want the circumstances that I'm dealing with to interfere with reading His Word and maybe getting something out of today's reading. So I appreciate your understanding, and I'm so sorry for any inconvenience. But let's just get started. Genesis chapter 21, King James Version. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah had bare to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said unto Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the son grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in thy sight because of the lad, and because of thy bondwoman. And all that Sarah hath said unto thee, hearken unto her voice. For in Isaac shall thy seed be called, and also of the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is thy seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, and the water was spent in the bottle. And she cast the child under one of the shrubs, and she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as it were about a bow shot. For she said, let me not see the death of the child. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. And the angel of God called unto Hagar out of heaven, and said unto her, what aileth thee, Hagar? Fear not, for God hath heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, Lift up the lad, and hold him in thy hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water and gave the lad a drink. And God was with the lad, and he grew, and dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took him a wife out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, spake unto Abraham, saying, God is with thee in all that thou doest. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that thou wilt not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto thee, thou shalt do unto me, and to the land wherein thou hast sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water, which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I wot not who have done this thing, neither did this thou tell me, neither yet heard I of it, but to this day. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which thou hast set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shalt thou take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have digged this well. Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swear both of them. Thus they made a covenant at Beersheba. When Abimelech rose up, and Phicol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned unto the land of the Philistines. And Abraham planted a grove in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. Abraham sojourned in the Philistines' land many days. So that was the end of chapter 21 of Genesis, the King James Version. I'm going to move on to the Message here. And then I guess maybe a little commentary. God visited Sarah exactly as he said he would. This is the Message, by the way. Sorry. Chapter 21 of Genesis, the Message. God visited Sarah exactly as he said he would. Did to Sarah what he promised. Sarah became pregnant and gave Abraham a son in his old age. And at the very time God had set, Abraham named him Isaac, when his son was 8 days old. Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born. Sarah said, God has blessed me with laughter, and all who get the news will laugh with me. She also said, Whoever would have suggested to Abraham that Sarah would one day nurse a baby, yet here I am. I've given the old man a son. The baby grew and was weaned. Abraham threw a big party on the day Isaac was weaned. One day, Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, had born unto Abraham, poking fun at her son Isaac. She said, Abraham, get rid of this slave woman and her son, No child of this slave is going to share inheritance with my son Isaac." The matter gave great pain to Abraham. After all, Ishmael was his son. But God spake to Abraham, "Don't feel badly about the boy and your maid. Do whatever Sarah tells you. Your descendants will come through Isaac. Regarding your maid's son, be assured that I will also develop a great nation from him. He's your son too." Abraham got up early in the morning, got some food together and a canteen of water for Hagar, put them on her back, and sent her away with the child. She wandered off into the desert of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she left the child under a shrub and went off 50 yards or so. She said, "I can't watch my son die." As she sat, she broke into sobs. Meanwhile, God had heard the boy crying. The angel of God called from heaven to Hagar. "What's wrong, Hagar? Don't be afraid." God has heard the boy and knows the fix he's in. "Up now. Go get the boy. Hold him tight. I'm going to make of him a great nation." Just when God opened her eyes, she looked. She saw a well of water. She went to it and filled her canteen and gave the boy a long, cool drink. God was on the boy's side as he grew up. He lived out in the desert and became a skilled archer. He lived in the Paran wilderness, and his mother got him a wife from Egypt. At about the same time, Abimelech and the captain of his troops, Phicol, spoke unto Abraham, "No matter what you do, God is on your side. So swear to me that you won't do anything underhanded to me or any of my family. For as long as you live, swear that you'll treat me and my land as well as I've treated you." Abraham said, "I swear it." At the same time, Abraham confronted Abimelech over the matter of a well of water that Abimelech's servants had taken. Abimelech said, "I have no idea who did this. You never told me about it. This is the first I've heard of it." So the two of them made a covenant. Abraham took sheep and cattle and gave them to Abimelech. Abraham set aside 7 sheep from his flock. Abimelech said, "What does this mean, these 7 sheep you have set aside?" Abraham said, "It means that when you accept these 7 sheep, you will take it as proof that I dug this well, that it's my well." That's how the place got named Beersheba, the oath well, because the two of them swore a covenant of oath there. After they made the covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech and his commander, Phicol, left and went back to Philistine territory. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and worshipped God there, praying to the eternal God. Abraham lived in Philistine country for a long time. So that's the end of Genesis chapter 21. Not really up for commentary, but I will say some things. That is a little encouraging. I suppose what stood out to me right now is that God's promises are fulfilled. Finally, what he said came to be in terms of Abraham and Sarah having Isaac, and within that specified time frame too. Also, Ishmael is not to be forgotten. It says in here that God was with him for sure, even though they were sent away because of the sinful manner that he come about, which was out of his control. I mean, none of us ask or have any control on how we end up coming here or born here. But despite that, God's promise still rang true. He did promise that Ishmael would also be very prosperous and successful, that he'd be with him too, because he is of his seed. He is also his Abraham's son. So there are many blessings for any seed of Abraham, despite the fact that he isn't the chosen seed that God had planned, which was Isaac. He's still Abraham's seed, which means he gets to be fruitful and multiply and be prosperous as well, which he was, even though for a minute it seemed like he and his mother were going to die in the wilderness. I can only imagine what that feels like. I feel like I'm in my own wilderness. I think I've been in it for a long while now. And I've been encouraged for a while, but just recently I can kind of relate to the despair and the hopelessness when you don't see God show up, when you really need him. And it makes you question your faith. It makes you question so many things, even if you've been in a jam before. But I know in my heart of hearts that God isn't abandoning me. It's just really hard right now. A lot of challenges. So I take from this, even if there are challenges and it seems like you're on the brink of death, God's still here. He still sees it. And it's a good idea just not to lose hope that he'll come to the rescue somehow. I like to think that in some way or another he'll make a well appear in my life. Because boy, don't I need it. It's really encouraging to read this. I've been in a few Bible studies over the last few days, but they just weren't really doing it for me. But I think this one really resonates with me most, so I'm glad that I came on here to read with you guys. I like to encourage you, and I wish I could tell you really what's going on in my life. I can't until it's finished. It's just for spiritually protective reasons. I can't until it's completed. And I'm looking for that rainbow after this storm, so I hope to tell you guys so that I can encourage you when everything looks hopeless, that it's going to be okay. So I'm just going to speak it as if it already is. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I'm going to speak as though I'm already out of my storm. And it doesn't matter how long it's been, or how bad it's gotten, and how hopeless it looks, and how I'm faced with some really scary things. I'm going to keep on believing that God is going to come through for me somehow. Just like he did here with Sarah and Abraham, and really with Hagar and Ishmael. I kind of wonder, and this is probably the only question I have. There's a lot going on here. I'm not really going to talk about much, and I love for you guys to comment below today if you want about what stood out to you. But I guess the question I have is, Hagar goes into the wilderness. It says, maybe around verse 15. Maybe I should go to the King James Version so that I can be a little bit more accurate. Please excuse me. It says at verse 14, I guess there's two different things that I want to talk about. One is not a question, but just that, Abraham giving only bread and water bottle to Hagar and Ishmael and sending them off seems pretty cold. And I used to think that, but when I read it this time, I looked at it as something very different. For one, maybe Abraham has a lot more faith. First off, God told him that it's going to be okay and don't worry. And he was worried about what to do with them because Sarah wanted them gone. He was worried because this is his child. He didn't do anything. but be born in this madness. So he was concerned, and I'm sure he's going to miss him. That's his son. That's his firstborn son. But God did assure him not to worry. And on top of that, he'd already given him a promise beforehand. He says it here as well, that Ishmael will be blessed. And it looks like for once, Abraham is actually really, truly trusting God, like unwavering type of trust, just really going in with the trust. I'm not really going to get into the details because, I mean, when it comes to Abraham himself and his life, he's really quick to try to take matters into his own hands and get into trouble. But it's really interesting that though he is concerned about his son, he was willing to take that leap of faith over that kid's life. But I'm going to look at it a little bit different. Maybe Abraham has learned from those experiences, and he figured out that he needs to trust God no matter what. God has already given him the promise that Ishmael was going to be fine, and he even does it here in previous chapters and this one, saying that Ishmael will be prosperous and, the father of many nations and things as well. So I'm going to look at it as he trusted God unwaveringly this time and sent them off, even with this small amount of food and water. And God did that. But the question that I had earlier was from chapter 21, verse 14. It says, "And Abraham rose up early in the morning, took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba." So it's already called the wilderness of Beersheba at this point. So what's going on toward the end of this chapter with this well? That part too, because the well had just seemingly appeared for Hagar when it seemed hopeless. But what is the connection between Beersheba and that well where Hagar was wandering out, and the end here with Abimelech and Abraham making this covenant? Wherefore it says, verse 31, "Wherefore he called that place Beersheba, because there they swore," both of them. So he named it. So it said around that time, both of these things were happening around the same time. But why was it mentioned before it was named? I'm going to have to research that, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who had this thought. And actually, if you have any opinions about it, I would love to hear it, because it does fascinate me. Was it that he named it? It says he did. So why was it already named and mentioned beforehand? I'm actually going to quickly Google this. Please excuse me. I'm not sure if I'll find anything though. I'm trying to put in as many keywords as possible so that I can see what pops up. Yeah, I would love to hear your opinion on this. The connection of this Beersheba place and this well, and then Hagar going into the wilderness with Ishmael, and it already being called Beersheba. Like, which one came first? It must have been the latter part of this chapter that come first, or exactly what's the correlation between Beersheba and this well, Hagar and Ishmael in the wilderness, versus right after that part is told to us, there's Abimelech and Abraham creating this covenant and naming this place Beersheba, and there being a well that was taken from Abraham by one of Abimelech's maybe people in some way. Is this the same well? This sounds like the same Beersheba, but why was it already named and mentioned and magically appearing? There's something that's not really correlating, or that I'm not understanding about this. So I would just love to hear someone else's opinion about it, really. I'm going to definitely research it, but I don't want to take forever on this video. It's already like 25 minutes long, and I am not sure. In fact, I've got let me try something else. I'm gonna use AI, as strange as that is. I'm sorry. I know some people are against using it, but I'm wondering if I can get a better quick answer to brainstorm. Genesis chapter 21. I'm not going to take forever. I'm just sitting here with you guys now. I'm sorry. I mean, I guess this is part of what Bible studying is when you have questions, you just kind of research it too to get a little deeper, but I would love to hear others' opinions on it. I'm going to try one more thing. Okay, so I'm literally trying to figure out if this is the same, everything here is the same, and which comes first, and this is the answer that I got. I asked if the Beersheba and the well is the same that Abraham and Abimelech were creating a covenant with, that Hagar and Ishmael were wandering in the forest at. And this is the answer I got. Yes, it is the same region of Beersheba, but the specific well that Hagar encounters in Genesis chapter 21, verse 14 through 19 is not explicitly stated to be the one that Abraham later secures through his covenant with Abimelech. However, events take place in Beersheba, linking them geographically. The text does not explicitly state that the well God reveals to Hagar is the same well Abraham later secures. However, both events take place in Beersheba, so they could be connected. I feel like they are. It's mentioned right next to each other, side by side, the exact same kind of thing going on. There's got to be some kind of symbolism of that. If it's not the exact same thing, I don't know. Here's a little bit more context. Theory. These are just theories, we don't know if it's the truth. Some interpretations suggest that the well God provides for Hagar was already there but hidden from her sight, which would align with Abraham's later actions in claiming a well in that same area. Even if they're not the same exact well, the symbolism is strong. God provides water in both cases for Hagar and Ishmael in distress, and for Abraham as a permanent possession. Beersheba becomes a place of covenant, both with Abimelech and through God's promise to Hagar and Ishmael. So while the Bible does not explicitly state that they are the exact same well, they are closely linked by location and divine provision. That's it. So, I don't know. Could be, couldn't be. There's definitely a connection between the two, an obvious one. If anyone else has any further elaboration on this, or just an opinion or a theory, please do share in the comment section below. I would love to hear it. For now, I think that's going to be about it. I appreciate you guys just kind of being here during this compromise. I know I usually do separate videos for each reading, but just at the moment I kind of need to put them together just to kind of give myself a little bit of a mental break. Things are just really challenging for me right now, spiritually for sure, but just in life in general, it's not easy right now. But I did make this promise that I would come here and read every day as best as I can. I'm going to try to show up every single day until all 3,000 whatever chapters of this Bible is read, which can be a while, but I figure one chapter a day at least, maybe two sometimes, maybe even three sometimes, is a good pace. And I just really appreciate the people who have subscribed. I really pray that you're getting a lot out of the reading so far. I mean, we've made it already to chapter 21, which is pretty far into the story. We went from the beginning, let there be light, to there is light, and there's people, and there's genealogies, and there's drama. There's God and his character shining through this whole place. The whole thing, really, he's just woven very well into each chapter, and how he interacts with us and this planet, and just his ways, and just our human ways too, and how we are able to relate in our personal lives with some of the decisions that are made here. None of us are perfect. God is. But us as human beings, we're just so flawed. And I find myself kind of in the seat or the shoes of some of these people, especially when things become seemingly impossible in all areas of life. It can be very discouraging and make you want to make choices, even without the consultation of God, because you're just not sure, and you're worried or scared or anxious. And then it says in here, don't worry and don't be anxious and don't be afraid. But it's so difficult to do that when you're living in this world, and things can be so challenging. Some more than others, for sure. But in some aspect or another, I think we can all relate to these people that we're reading about, even in this chapter today. And the thing that stuck out to me the most was that God is faithful. He kept his word to the exact. It came true in his timing, They had to wait 20-something years to get that child, and there were a whole lot of errors and sin. And some people really suffered because of that. But God was faithful. He kept his promise. He didn't fail them. And Abimelech even recognizes it so much in this chapter. He's like, it doesn't even matter what you do, at this point. God's with you. I can see that no matter what happens. And that makes me think sometimes about, sometimes people are just extremely blessed and they never even recognize God. And then there's some people who recognize God so much, but their life is just so hard. And I don't think that there's like one answer to explain why that is. I don't know. I don't know why that is. I don't really understand. And there is a verse in here about not leaning on your own understanding and just really trusting God. Because he's not going to leave us or forsake us, and he doesn't mean us any harm. He means us very well for hope and a good future, and I just need to cling to that. Like, take heart and really cling to that, especially right now in my life. So I really appreciate this chapter. It was encouraging for me in that way. And I hope it is for you too. Now, this might be the longest video I think I've made, maybe because I've combined the two of them. But I'm kind of glad that I did. We were able to listen to the same chapter, but in different ways. And maybe one way you were able to catch something that the other one, you weren't able to catch today. And I just hope that you did, that you got a lot out of this, that it helped you in your day-to-day. And I just pray many blessings over you as usual. And I just hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for subscribing and reading along with me, and really going through this journey through God's Word together. So God bless you guys, and I hope you have a really good day, good night, and I'll see you later. Bye.